Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Boobies and Noobies. You can follow us at Boobies Podcast on both Instagram and Twitter. And if you'd like to support the podcast and get a little extra bonus Boobies content every month, you can support us on Patreon at Boobies Podcast. Welcome to Boobies and Noobies, the podcast that asks novice romance readers to think outside the dick in a box and brave the unbridled world of erotica. I'm your host, Kelly Reynolds, and today I'm joined by actor, friend, and former Boobies and Noobies guest. Please welcome back to the podcast, Nathan Brown.
Hi.
Hi. It's become somewhat of a tradition now to invite guests back to the show for the next book in their respective series. And with that, Nathan and I today are going to be talking about Sweet Talker by Robin Bielman. And this second chance romance is a new release published just this month, September 2019. It's available on Amazon for $3.99 Kindle edition. Such a bargain. And it's book 2 in the American Royalty series. Now, Nathan previously appeared in our episode for Heartthrob, which is book 1 in the American Royalty series. And special shout out to Robin Bielman and the people from Tool Publishing for providing us with advanced reader copies of both books. We really appreciate it. I'm already looking forward to book 3. We know it's coming. Yeah. I have to say, how powerful do you feel also walking around with a book that's labeled not for resale on it?
I kind of feel like a huge, whenever people come over to my apartment and I have a couple bookshelves of books because I'm a nerd. And on the shelf right now is Heartthrob.
Yeah.
And every time someone comes in, the thing they ask me is not, is it a romance novel? They're always like, why do you have a book that's not for resale? I'm like, oh, well, I did a thing, you know?
Yeah, I did a
cool
thing.
like that.
And now you have a second book to add to the not for resale collection. Yeah. So exciting. I know. And since we last talked, Nathan and I talked a little bit about life in general leading up to the recording, but congratulations on your manager.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you. Shout out to creative management.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. It's one step in the right direction, right?
Yeah. No, it makes you feel like you're not wandering aimlessly in the desert. You know, I think that's kind of what LA is, right? It's a desert, so
yeah,
it's nice to know,
just
at least
wandering.
I'm walking toward something.
Yeah,
nice.
There's a general direction. You're I see it in the distance, it's getting a little closer.
Yeah, I have a list of things I need to do now, which is actually really nice. It's nice having a syllabus.
Yeah, it's we're back in school again. Yeah. I know, and you know what? Maybe that's the nerd in me, but I loved school because I feel maybe that's why I went for grad school too. Is you kind of finish school and you're okay, this is exciting, but also terrifying beyond belief. Where do I go now?
Yeah.
So if I could stay in school forever, I'd actually be okay with that.
Yeah.
Just not the debt. That's not what I would be okay with.
No,
thank you. My other realization I had while reading Sweet Talker is that I took a plane ride home last week and had the book with me on the plane.
Okay.
And realized that the last time I had flown home, I had been reading Heartthrob.
Really? That's crazy.
It was either the last time or the time before, but I definitely have a picture of me at the airport with Heartthrob in my hand.
Wow.
And then this time I was reading Sweet Talker on the plane. And I was I guess this is what you call airplane reading.
Yeah, every time you fly home.
Yeah, gotta have a Robin Bielman.
Yeah.
Gotta have a Robin Bielman in my hands. And as we mentioned, this is book 2 in the series. We know that there's at least 3 books because it's set around a trio of brothers.
Yeah.
And the Auprince brothers. Auprince. And the third book will be Drew's story. If anybody's been kind of keeping up with these books, first book was Finn's story. We did already review that one, and this one is Ethan's story. Book 3 will be Drew's story. I'm excited for that one too, because he's I feel has a lot of mystery surrounding him. We don't.
I feel he's gonna be the hardest to lock down.
Yeah, well. Which is funny because they describe him as the brother that's the relationship brother.
Yeah, but I wonder if there's gonna be a lot of like the high expectations from him. You know, like they talk about him being kind of the romantic or the like the. I don't think she said serial monogamist or anything, but like I get that like he's always looking for love.
Yeah.
So I wonder if instead of not only is love gonna like maybe find him, but also maybe it will be not what he's expecting, or I don't know.
True.
But
very true.
Interesting.
We'll have to wait and see, and I'm excited. Yeah. Hopefully, we'll have an advanced reader copy, not for resale, for that one as well.
Oh, you have a trilogy on the bookshelf.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, this is our second full trilogy, and this is only book 2, but we released. Our most recent episode was book 3 in a series as well, and that was the Happy Endings series.
Is it about a masseuse?
It was about a male stripper company.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, so that lovely. But that was our first full trilogy, and hopefully this will be the next one. I mean, you've made it this far. You've read the first 2.
I know.
Like, I feel like you have to read the next book. Like,
I actually couldn't put this one down at a certain point. There was a point where like I enjoyed reading it, but there was a point when I got about midway through and like very unexpected things happened where I was what in the I had to read I think I was up until like 2 or 3 in the morning.
You just had to keep going.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, I'll read a little bit more before bed, and then I was like, I can't sleep now.
Right.
Like, I gotta know what happened.
Because this one is like packed full of like twists and turns.
Yeah.
Like you do not know where it's going because like the first main storyline ends like halfway through.
Yeah.
And then we get like a whole new storyline.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is lots of stuff to be had in Sweet Talker. But before we get too far into it, let's give everybody the brief Amazon review just so they can stay up to date with the book we're going to be talking about today. So this is Sweet Talker by Robin Bielman. That was like super sensual. Robin Bielman. It was like a cross between like super sexy and then like Batman.
Yeah. You just like, if you got a little graffier with it, Robin Bielman. Just like go way too.
I think that's how you should read your sexcerpt today, is with Batman
voice.
Jeez. Yeah, so keep that in mind. You prepare. We'll give you a few minutes. I mean, you're an actor. You're used to doing cold readings. Yeah. Good thing we have iced tea. Okay, Amazon, here we go. He likes to be in control. It's like this. I'm the hottest restaurateur on the West Coast. I work hard, play hard, and love my family. I'm also the guy on the receiving end of some unwelcome threats and fixation. Then Pascale Nichols walks back into my life and I forget about everything but her. They say lightning never strikes twice, but she's the one that got away. She's also, I soon discover, the one my family secretly hired to protect me. Am I mad? Hell yeah. Am I going to play along? You bet. She's in over her head. Everyone knows and loves Ethan Auprince. With his sexiest in dimples and crazy likability, he's always the center of attention. I've been tasked with protecting celebrities, bigwigs, and high-ranking officials. But when I come face to face with the man I spent one incredible summer with, I'm in trouble. A careless mistake on my last assignment cost me. And now Ethan is looking at me like he wants to devour me, not cooperate with my subtle instructions while I work under the guise of his restaurant manager. My reputation is at risk. His safety is on the line. But worse, we're falling in love again. And again, and again, and again. Okay, I have to say, both of us having read the first book in the series, Heartthrob, I do think it's helpful, and I always do recommend to people when there's a series, like, should you read the books in order? Do you need to read the books in order? I don't know if it's necessarily, like, a must for this series, but I feel like this is one of the ones where you definitely will get more out of the characters, especially if you do read the first book.
Yeah, I didn't think she spent as much time, because in Heartthrob, she was really setting up the Auprince family and stuff, but she let Heartthrob do that work, so like you didn't need to have read that, like you said, to understand them, but knowing that, it was cool having Finn like pop in and out, and knowing about Ethan and Finn's grandma. And,
I love their grandma. I love their grandma and their mom too. Like the whole family is just so damn cute.
Yeah, but she didn't take any time in Sweet Talker to really rebuild that, which I appreciated because we read Heartthrob, so we know that stuff, which I thought was really cool.
Exactly. And so I could see where it's like if you jumped into Sweet Talker without having read Heartthrob, it's not necessarily like I feel like you're missing something, but that more of like you might just kind of be like, who's this feisty grandma? Like, what's her story? But yeah, they all really do get a nice opening in Heartthrob, and the story just kind of continues in Sweet Talker, this time focusing on Ethan, the second brother. This is my favorite, is I was thinking about how to describe Ethan, and Book Addict Reviews called Ethan hotter than a 3-alarm fire in the Mojave Desert in the middle of July.
I think she says that.
Does she?
Yeah, Pascale calls him that. It's
okay. So clearly Robin Bielman said this, and Book Addict Reviews was quoting the wonderful quote. It is one amongst many quotable moments in this book. I mean, that was one of the things we liked about Heartthrob too.
Yeah, there was one thing that she wrote that I was particularly like, man, that's a really well written like sentence. That doesn't do it justice. There was something that she wrote that wasn't even a dirty thing. It was just like, I really loved that sentence.
Yeah.
And I wanted to mark it, and then I got wrapped up in the story.
It's beautiful. She's a beautiful writer, and it's super fun. Like, there's definitely LOL moments. Like, I liked that. I think it's the grandma that describes Chris Hemsworth as Thor Raleigh Packing.
Thor Raleigh Packing, yeah.
And I was like, I love that. And then
that would be like, and for some reason, as a guy, that is like the worst. My worst nightmare is like bringing a hot girl home and having my grandma talk about like Chris Hemsworth to her. I don't know why, but I would be absolutely mortified.
Is it specifically about Chris Hemsworth, like the sphere?
Having my grandma meet my hopefully intended for the first time, and having her just be like, "Let's talk about hot guys," and I'd be like, "Grandma, stop." Now that I don't think my grandma would do that, but still, like.
Your
I was
grandma,
reading it going like...
I don't even know your grandma, and I love your grandma because
awesome.
Was it in our previous episode or in our secret lost previous episode that we talked about your travels with grandma?
I don't know, but I went on a trip with her this summer already too. Me and my brother and her went up to Tahoe.
Where'd you guys go?
We went up to Tahoe for like a week. It was just the three of us.
I love it.
And it was great. I really enjoyed it.
So if people listen to our Heartthrob episode, I'm having trouble remembering, but Nathan and I actually recorded Heartthrob twice. Yeah. It's the one episode that we had such technical difficulties that we went back and recorded it a second time.
Yeah.
So we have the released episode of Heartthrob, and we also have the secret lost files of Heartthrob, which I do have and have promised to share clips of on Patreon. It just has not happened yet. But, I mean, what with us recording this one, it seems like the perfect opportunity to release the lost files of of the Heartthrob recording.
It's not like you haven't been busy doing lots of books and doing other
reading,
cool, filmy stuff. And,
trying to live my life.
Yeah, hey.
Aren't we all? Yeah, so, I mean, it's definitely, just like in Heartthrob, what I love about these books, and clearly, I mean, they came out just recently, but... You can tell, like, if you picked up this book, you would know this is very current. I mean, there's a whole moment where they talk about how Pascale's sister, Paige, got a tattoo that says, "Stay sexy and don't get murdered."
Yeah.
From My Favorite Murder. And before she even said it, I was like, oh, yeah, SSDGM, My Favorite Murder. Like, so I don't know if it's just because I'm another podcaster or not, but anybody who's a My Favorite Murder fan, I feel like would pick up on the reference. Not you, clearly.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't get that.
That's okay. I just thought it was such a good catchphrase. That's why it stuck with me for so long. But
well, I think what I learned most from this book is I really want Robin Bielman to just write a woman into existence for me, because I would fall so incredibly madly in love with Pascale. I was reading this book being like, this is a problem.
Okay, so having read both of them, what do you think of Pascale compared to the female heroine in Heartthrob, Chloe?
Chloe, that's what it was.
So Chloe was like the social media manager. Yeah. Pascale was like hot female bodyguard, but also like wants to open up a cafe. Like she's got so much to her.
Yeah, I feel like when we read Heartthrob, I said probably the same thing because Chloe had some pretty great traits. She writes really good people. Like, she
for sure.
Characters really well. You know, like I think guys would probably read this and want to be Ethan or Finn, and then want to be with Chloe and Pascale.
Oh, and it's the same for women too. I mean, I could say the same thing. I'm like, either of these brothers is phenomenal. Yeah. Like, this is like dream man.
Yeah, exactly. Like even their like bad qualities, I feel like are things that are like, you're like, okay, like I can work with this. And,
it's not a deal breaker.
No, yeah. But yeah, I think, well, also just I feel like the name Pascal is a super hot name. I never thought about it before.
It is.
But I read that, I was like, oh my god.
And then he calls her Callie. Like, I was like,
if I met this woman in real life and I was like, oh, what's your name? And she was like Pascal, I'd be like, stop.
You stop it right now. Marry me.
You have no business having a name like that and looking the way that you do.
I know. God, and she can do everything too, which I'm just like, oh God. And then she's like a good mother. I'm like, stop it. Like,
I know.
Her like fault in this book is that she like wants to be too good of a mom. Yeah, and you're just like, stop it.
Yeah. Well, also like discounting Ethan, that was a little bit like, but I mean, I get it. I understand.
Oh yeah, no. That's the thing is like, even because there's lots of books that you'll read, not just romance, but traditionally in romance, there's a lot of things that will drive you crazy as you read them, and you're like, why are you doing that? You should be together. Like, just have this conversation. Robin Bielman's books are like, they really do have these conversations. Like, and I remember this in Heartthrob too. Is it's a lot of instead of like the misunderstanding moments. Yeah. It's a lot more of just like they have a conversation and, take a break from each other. Things, aren't going great. It's very real.
I feel like it's refreshing and it's like it's something to aspire to.
Yes.
I think for anyone who's been in any kind of tumultuous relationship or has ever had a fight with a partner ever, you have those moments where you're like, you wish I can only speak as a man, but like I said again. I can only speak as a man, but I think there have been times in relationships for me where I don't consider myself a particularly prideful man or I have no problem admitting that I'm wrong and stuff, but there are definitely times where I can, like, I'll step outside myself for a minute and just wish that I could just have a conversation. Like, slow down, stop this now, because you love her.
Yeah.
And that's more important than anything else.
Yeah.
And I think reading books like this, I think it's so nice having that written in there and having the characters have that conversation and have those boundaries. And, he still gets to be the guy who, rushes in and sweeps the girl off her feet, but he does it respectfully.
Yeah, exactly. And he respects what she wants and also what she needs too. And like, yeah, no, I mean, it's true. We so often in books and movies and TV shows, we see kind of like the what not to do almost. Like, and I think that kind of goes along with the idea that, any type of entertainment is like seen as like an escape.
Right.
But ultimately you also want to see characters that you can identify with and situations, relationships that they're in that could be you. That's something you've gone through, or, if you are going through it, you have, an idea of how they might handle it. But too often I feel like we see people making the opposite choices or, just for entertainment value, which, I do understand. Like, I remember, and I don't like talking about Lena Dunham, but I remember when Girls first came out, and I was really excited to watch it because I was a 20-something girl. It was about 20-something girls, and she, like, purposefully said something that was to the effect of, I always write my character to make, like, the wrong choice or, like, the decision that I would never make in real life. But I feel like she takes that to extremes.
Yeah, well, I think that people, like, there's a difference between writing conflict and writing conflict for conflict's sake. And I think
exactly.
That's
too often.
You don't want to watch anything that's the characters have no conflicts, because that's what a story is, right? Because a story is about some kind of conflict. And
how do we overcome it? How do we push through? Yeah.
But I think that, and I think we talked about this a little bit in the Heartthrob one, but I think so much of, especially when it comes to relationship dynamics, there's so many things that establish the wrong stereotypes to look for. Whether to be like the guy who is emotionally unavailable and the girl just like sticks it out a little bit longer and then he finally comes around. Like, that guy doesn't really exist. Yeah. Most men that are emotionally unavailable are not looking for some grand awakening. They think they're the shit.
Oh, but it's our job as women to fix them,
right,
Nathan.
Exactly. And, like, that's infuriating to me.
Me too.
Because how many, like, I guarantee you there's probably... I could probably throw a rock right now and hit a guy who fell in love with a girl who had a shitty boyfriend who was unavailable. And, you know, and I'm not saying that, like, people are entirely blameless in that, but I think that there's something to be said for entertainment and media, which is probably what most people consume at the youngest age.
Yeah.
Encouraging young girls to think that that's okay and to think that that's acceptable because everywhere they look, it's there.
And the norm.
Exactly. There's the guys who are, you know, I mean, you know, we all love a little dark mystery, but there's, you know, there's too far into the dark where, you know, you can't come back. And I think it's nice having not only, like, a good guy character who has, you know, tiny flaws and stuff.
Yeah, because we all do.
Yeah, but also, like, having those conversations, having them actually sit down, talk, and still have conflict in spite of it.
Right, but it's natural conflict.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is you're not creating conflict for conflict's sake. It's like you're creating characters who have a relationship, and naturally in a relationship there's going to be conflict. Like, I mean, people have different backgrounds, people have different beliefs. Like, there's you don't have to keep adding and adding and adding to it. Like, this book is a great example of that. Is very much just like kind of conflict coming from situations. Like, to even start with, you have Pascale and Ethan basically reuniting where she's undercover as she is a bodyguard, but she's undercover hired to protect him and also kind of fill this restaurant manager part. Yeah. But I mean, there's conflict there because they have a past. They had a hot, like, summer hookup years ago.
Summer love and having a blast.
It happened so fast.
And a girl crazy for me.
Okay, we could just go on and on.
All day. I think I know all the words.
There is always time for Grease. Always. But yeah, and then, you know, as the story goes on, we get a little bit more of Pascale's backstory. I mean, she became a bodyguard for the reason that one of her best friends was murdered. Yeah. And her last person that she worked for, that was an interesting storyline, that she was a bodyguard for, like, a celebrity chef. And she started, I don't want to say she started having a relationship with the chef's boyfriend, but it's like she just kind of, like, integrated herself into their lives, and she got to know her chef, the chef's boyfriend, and the chef's boyfriend's daughter very well.
Grant and Riley?
Riley, yeah. Yeah, and then the dad was Grant. Yeah. And then that, I didn't even think that was going to, like, play into our story.
I think it was just, like, window dressing.
Oh,
I thought it was,
my
like, helpful.
Gosh. That took a turn for sure, because, like, I thought the story was going to focus on the fact that Pascale is hired to protect Ethan because he's basically been getting, like, a stalker, I guess. Like, he's been getting sort of, like, messages and, you know, let's call them presents from a stalker. Yeah. And so she's there to help him. That gets solved very quickly. And it's very, it is pretty anticlimactic. Like, it's not, you know, there's nobody really is at risk of, like, being hurt. You know, they find out that it's this girl that he basically interacts with on a day-to-day basis and just didn't really pay her attention. And she was like, I love you. Yeah. And that's solved. That's fine. And then, lo and behold, our new conflict enters, which is that Grant, the guy that Pascale kissed, he was the boyfriend of the celebrity chef she protected for her last job. He gets in a car accident and dies. Yeah. And he leaves his daughter, he leaves her custody to Pascale. Yeah. That was a hard shift. Yeah. Like, I liked it. I did like that. That's kind of what the story became. Right. I felt like it was, like, a little off for me just because we went from, like, one story focus to, like, a complete other one halfway through. But I liked both sides of it.
Yeah. I like the transition point was the hot, passionate stuff. You know,
yeah.
Like, it was like the foil of it was almost the idea of this stalker. You know, it was a really big, like, foil as a way to get you in. Yeah. And the minute you were in, you were like, okay, like, just fuck, and then, like, then that happens, and then right when you get to the other side of that, and you're like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, something else happens.
Right.
What I liked about it was I felt like, and I don't know if Robin Bielman's doing this on purpose, but it's like in the first one, in Heartthrob, she establishes what your like quintessential romance novel is, right? There's like a rise, there's a fall. It's very, for me at least, reading a romance novel for the first time, I was like, okay, cool, like this is what to expect.
Yeah,
and then she just like breaks that in half. Like I really liked that, like it was like she's building on and like reinventing the form of how she's going to write a novel.
It's true.
And like I thought that was really cool that it's like, because I was reading this and in the beginning I enjoyed it all the way through, but in the beginning I was like, okay, like I kind of get where this is going to go. Like there's going to be some struggle, like we all have a little struggle. And then eventually there's going to be like the undeniable passion.
Right.
And they're going to fall into each other. There's going to be some little conflict, and then it's going to end up being okay.
And there's a little suspense. There's a, stalker. Like, okay, they're going to solve this. They're going to defy all odds. Yeah. Great, yeah.
And it was like, no. This is what's going to happen.
Just kidding.
Yeah, and I was it was really unexpected, I think.
Yeah.
And I think because I was reading and I was expecting it to go a certain way, and I think I would have been a lot more bothered by the accident if it was somehow sinister. But a big part of the story seems to be about almost fate, like things that are uncontrollable. Yeah. A lot of events happen that are, and that seems to be kind of one of the main just themes in the book is...
It's true.
The cyclicalness of life and fate and how it leads you to things. And I liked that it wasn't anything sinister. It wasn't like some person wanted to kill him or something.
And it wasn't like tying it into the stalker. It's not like the stalker went out and killed this guy that was at one point attached to Pascale. Yeah. Like that was not it at all. It was just...
Like, sometimes life happens. And it's terrible.
And it's a little... I mean, it really is a little dark in a way. Yeah. Like this is definitely... I'm not going to call it a dark book. Like there's definitely darker romances. But this one is...
Joker and Harley Quinn.
To name a few.
Nerd.
Yeah. No. This one, I mean, though, there's definitely, there's definitely this element of fate and sort of like the fact that they met as, teenagers, kind of had this nice hot summer together and then were pulled apart by, the death of her friend. And then, what is it, like 10 years later, reunited. She never would have been a bodyguard if her friend hadn't died. Yeah. Like it really is like one thing led to the other of like, would they have found each other again if like this wasn't the situation they were in? But no, it's it was really interesting. Yeah. It was I'm with you. I was not expecting it to take that turn for sure.
Yeah. And I thought that they explained, because in the book the whole, when he meets her for the first time, he doesn't recognize her.
Yeah.
Because of her, like, nose reconstruction. And I was like, okay, like, it's LA. And then they explained that, and I was like, you know what, like, all right, like, I'm down for that.
And she had, like, different hair, you know?
I liked that it was, like, something, like, it just, like, she got in a, well, she said it was a bar brawl, but she was protecting somebody.
Right.
And got, like, smashed in the face. And I was like, oh,
and you know what, it's so funny, too, because I was actually just reading another book, and it was, like, the girl had changed, like, her hair, and that was, like, he didn't recognize her, and I'm like, what, because she, like, dyed her hair blonde? Yeah. Like, are you kidding me? Like, but this one I was like, okay, they're older. She does have a different look. She also literally, part of her face is different. Like, okay, I can buy into it. Yeah. But, no, it's very cute. Let's talk about more about your gal, Pascale.
Oh, God.
I know. You love her.
It's a problem.
She's great. She really, I mean, I have to say, like, she did start to annoy me closer to the end, and not because that she was making bad choices. Like, she clearly puts Riley, the like daughter she inherits custody of, ahead of everybody else, you know, but I was like, girlfriend, why are you turning away from Ethan?
Look at him.
I know, like, she kept, like, thinking, oh, he's not gonna, he just wants me, like, he's not ready for this, and I'm like, when has he given you any indication so far that he is not up to the task?
Yeah. I think it was, like, it felt very, like, almost if I was Pascale's friend, I would be like, what is wrong with you? But, like, that's kind of what you want from a book, right? Right. You want to get in that position where you're, like, you just want to, like, sit her down on a bed and be like, look.
We need to have a talk.
Honey, look. But, like, that's what it felt. It was very kind of, why are you being, like...
Yeah.
Silly Billy?
It's
like,
true.
Come on.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Like, I never felt that way about Ethan. Like, I guess the closest we would get to that with Ethan is that, you know, he goes on that work trip, and so he doesn't make it back in time for Riley's birthday party, and you're like, what are you doing? Get on a plane, you know?
Dude.
But, so I guess they each kind of have that moment where you just want to, you know, give them a little stern chat and set them on the right course. But I think they're also, especially with Pascale, I think they're also kind of judging each other based off of, like, who they were when they were much younger and everything.
There was a lot of baggage in this, and I liked that because we all have it. And I think, like, I've thought a lot about, you know, I went through a pretty rough, wonderful, terrible, lovely... difficult relationship,
etc.
a couple years ago, and I've been single since, and I've thought a lot about, like, what am I going to be like going back into a relationship now? Because I've been in love before, but not like this. Like, it was very... There were things that she describes actually in Sweet Talker that were very reminiscent for me of what I would be I would talk like about my ex. And I thought a lot about, like, what am I going to be like in a relationship again? Because I have so much more baggage now than I used to.
Right.
And I was like, and also, like, when, you know, I think for anybody, when your heart really gets broken, and you come back, you're not the same person. Like, I used to be Drew. I used to be looking for love everywhere. Like, every time, I was a serial monogamist. Every time I broke up with someone, I was like, I'd take like a month maybe and be like, oh man, I don't have a girlfriend anymore. And then I'd be like,
who's next?
Oh, that's
Let's
my true
go.
love. And I got to date some really lovely, wonderful people. And they're all incredible women. But the last one really like wrecked me. And I think that when you know, it's like if you break something that's glass and you put it back together, it's always going to have the marks in it anyway.
Right.
And I think like that's what I think about, you know, in terms of like my heart. I'm always like, what am I going to be like when I go hopefully meet a woman again and fall in love? I'm not going to be the same like 21-year-old that I was. No.
And every relationship is different and everything. And I think I actually just had this conversation with somebody recently where I was remembering that while I was in grad school, we all went out one night, and it was, I feel like I got schooled on like so many terms by the group of guys that we were with. And they were all talking about, the bar setter. She was the bar setter. And I was like, what the fuck is the bar setter? And they're like, she's like the girl that I measure all other girls by and everything. And I was like, oh, that's a thing? Like, cause,
shouldn't be. Not for a healthy, full-functioning adult.
Well, and you know what? To be fair, both of them are married now. So I guess they went beyond the bar. But I thought that it was really interesting that I was like, oh, that was interesting. And again, it was from the male point of view, I guess. So it's not something familiar to me. And I feel like as women, we generally tend to set more of an ideal bar. Right. Like, this is like, not to compare him to like an actual man, but just sort of like, this is the ideal partner, like that I envision for myself. And, you know, we see that in movies, we see that in TV shows. We definitely see that in romance novels. But it's interesting. Like, and like you said, I mean, who knows what comes next sort of thing.
I think that guys are also generally, even like relatively, I would consider myself and probably overly sensitive, overly vulnerable guy. I'm not particularly macho or
what's masculine. Overly vulnerable? That's
like,
not a thing.
I think I probably like I'm so willing to talk about like the bad. I think I gravitate towards the dark. You know, it's not only just being like a quote unquote artist, but also like, but also just generally like I tend to gravitate towards things that are like dark, things that are sad. Like that's just me.
That's why you like comics.
Yeah, I mean, the reason, honestly, that I like Captain America so much is because I feel like his storyline is one of the saddest ones in the Marvel Universe. Yeah. Like, if you really track everything he goes through and all his movies, like, a lot of them are about breaking what he believes. Like, Winter Soldier is about breaking what he believes. Civil War is about breaking his friendships. Yeah. Infinity War is about him being a broken Captain America. Like, it's all about him losing.
Crossing these lines that he's drawn for himself.
Exactly. And I think that that's a thing. But I think that even for me, and I would consider, like I said, I consider myself probably one of the more sensitive guys that I know. I have a hard time even still talking in terms of, like, vulnerability. I think when I talk about girls or when I talk about love or all that stuff, even though I'm willing to talk about it, there are still things that put him into terms that there's like a certain sense of emotional deafness, even though I try and pretend like I like to laugh a lot of things off, but it's definitely
Oh,
a defense
don't we
mechanism.
all? Yeah, we both have that in common, for sure.
Like, yeah, no, I don't care. I'm just going to cry about it later.
Yeah.
Like,
no, for real.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, and I think that that guys tend to do, like, bar setter, I feel like is it's almost sports. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's almost here, and I think that's the hard thing when you feel like maybe you still love somebody or something. It's easier to be like, yeah, no, she's just this. It's a casual thing, you know. It's the bar setter, and it's because you don't want to sit down and go,
yeah,
I think I'm still in love with her, and I don't know if I can move on.
I feel like, and maybe this, I know we're getting so off topic here, but I'm just asking Nathan about what it means to be a man, and
terrible person.
But I always think of women. I feel like we have a tendency to like compare ourselves to each other.
Okay.
But I feel like when I talk to my guy friends, I get more of a sense that it's more like a competition with themselves sort of thing.
It definitely depends on the guy too.
Okay.
I think there are certain guys
of course.
super. I think sometimes I'll walk into a bar and guys will check each other out more than the girls.
Interesting.
It's this thing of like, is that guy hard? Is he harder than me? Well, let's see. Like, how much do you think he can lift?
I have that shirt.
What if I just stand up? What if I just like, well, I'm with this girl, so like, what the fuck? You know, I think there's a lot of like internal subconscious monologue going on where I'll walk into like sometimes there's a guy looking at me and like I've been in enough bars with like a gay man to know when a guy's looking at me because he's checking me out because he's interested, and when a guy's looking at me because he's
sizing me up.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times I'll walk into a bar and there's a lot of like that. There's a lot of
interesting. We also live in Los Angeles,
well, yeah,
so I feel like that's definitely a part of it.
100%. Yeah, it's a little slice of like weirdness and
God, it is, isn't it? And there's parts I love and parts that I'm just like, ew.
Yeah, I mean, if I go to a bar anywhere else, I'll walk in, and what surprises me the most is how much no one cares that you just walked into the bar.
Do you like that or hate it?
It's so much nicer, like, because I don't think about stuff very often. Like, generally, the reason I cut my hair the way that I do is because it's like it doesn't take any work.
Right.
I generally just throw clothes on and leave. Like,
interesting, because I feel like we can tie this back to Ethan. It's so funny because I feel like in the synopsis it says he likes to be in control. I never really got that vibe from Ethan. Like, I mean,
I didn't get a super over controlling.
No. And if anything, I feel like she's the one that likes to be in control and sort of like. I mean, that's the whole reason she became a bodyguard in the first place is, you know, her friend was killed. She's like, okay, well, how can I stop other people, from being killed? So she becomes a bodyguard, even though she wanted to open her cute little cafe, which she says she's going to do in the end. And I was really excited.
I know. Me too.
I do like, I thought he was cool. I liked her. You said it perfect. You're like, I would see guys wanting to be Ethan and wanting to date Pascale. Yeah. I looked at it where I was like, I would want to date Ethan, and I feel like Pascale would be like a super cool friend to have.
She's someone that like definitely would never be able to go up to in a bar. And that's not saying a lot. I never can approach women in bars.
She kind of strikes me as somebody too that doesn't realize like how amazing she is, like, which is just.
And in LA, that's hard to find, right? There's a lot of women in LA, a lot of guys too, a lot of people in LA. I don't need to genderize. A lot of people in LA that think that they are just, you know, your whatever god you worship's gift to Earth.
Yeah, the cat's pajamas.
Yeah, exactly. The best thing since sliced bread, which, when you think about, non-sliced bread would be kind of frustrating, so I get that phrase.
Although I love a good baguette.
A good baguette.
I love a good baguette. Like, I would rather have a baguette than sliced bread.
Into that thing?
Oh, yeah. Like, it's great. You can slice it. You can literally just bite off the top of it, like Regina George style in Mean Girls. I mean, yeah, I love a good baguette. Speaking of sandwiches and bread, there's a crazy question posed in this book that I was like really thinking about as I was reading it. And I think Ethan asks Pascale, but I might be getting this backwards, but somebody asked the other one, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh no, that's right. And I read that and I went,
Did you really think about it?
Well, people have fought about this.
Yeah.
Like, I know people that have had like legitimate arguments about this where it's like it'll start as like a fun thing and then like 30 minutes later I'm like,
which I'm like, clearly Robin Bielman had with somebody where she's like, okay, I feel the need to address this in this book. So what are your thoughts on, is the hot dog a sandwich?
I think I just don't. I'm not so specific about my food. Like, if it tastes bomb, I don't care what you call it. Like,
that's true. That's true.
Like, if you gave me a hot dog and you said, here's a hot dog sandwich, I'd be like, okay. So to be fair, I don't consider a hot dog a sandwich, and I'm unlike you. I take my food very seriously. Okay. I'm like, I love sandwiches and I love hot dogs. Yeah. My mom used to make what we would call a hot dog sandwich, where you would basically like butterfly the hot dog open, lay it flat on bread, boom, it's a sandwich. Yeah. But is a regular hot dog a sandwich? I say no. Well, it's hard, right? Because like sometimes you go to a restaurant and like the burgers are under the sandwich portion.
Yes.
So you're like, I guess technically, because if a panini is a sandwich, that's like cooked meat. It's like pressed and stuff because of the panini press. Yeah. So I guess a hot dog, or I guess a burger is a sandwich. But I always think of burgers as burgers.
I know. Well, and I don't think of buns as bread. Like, you know, like I think of like sliced bread is different from buns. Yeah. But then there's the baguette, and you know, I mean. Focaccia.
Who doesn't love a good focaccia burger?
Oh, God. Fantastic. Have you ever made a burger with garlic bread as your buns?
Stop. What? This blew
it's so,
my mind.
So sinful and amazing.
That would be incredible. That would be something I'd expect to see at like a baseball
at my parents' house. That's where you go find it.
I did not. When we were doing school plays, I should have been hanging out at your parents'
It's true.
place.
It's true. My mom, y'all, is like,
a genius.
She's the best. She's the best cook. I love it. Hot dog sandwich, garlic bread burgers.
What?
Yeah, it's great. And she makes the best meatloaf, too. So, Mom's meatloaf.
We're going to Kelly's house.
Yeah. It's so true.
Well, the next time we get a book, we're flying back to
Kelly's house. Flying back to the Bay. Yeah. Mom's making us dinner.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, no, that was just one of the things that stood out to me, along with, you know, Chris Hemsworth being like thoroughly packing. And I really thought about it. And I guess it made sense to me the way that they argued it, though, where they're like, a sandwich is a food item with 2 pieces of bread, and a hot dog bun is 1 piece. Yeah. But then the other person argues, yeah, but it's easily broken into 2 pieces.
Yeah. So I literally, this conversation, my best friend, and I consider his friends some really, really close friends now. They're all engineers. Okay. And I've literally been a part of this conversation where they get into like the specific, they can't help it because they're all just like
scientists.
And like, they'd be talking about this and I'm like, how are we still talking about this? And like, you can't talk, you talk about comic books all the time. And I'm like, shut up. But like, I've had like literally what she wrote, like, what is written, like I've heard that conversation.
And you know what? That makes sense to me that it was coming from engineers. Yeah. Like, I feel like that would be the group of people that I would be imagining having this conversation.
Exactly.
And I think that's when they have that conversation when they're at that bomb-ass dinner thing. Because this is like tying into book 1. It's supposed to be like the belated wedding reception for Finn and Chloe. Because at the end of book 1, spoiler, they like jet off on the helicopter to Vegas.
Yeah, Down with Love ending. That's how we talked about that.
And which, by the way, after we did that one, I definitely went and watched Down with Love
good.
To catch up. Yeah, but
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, always. This family knows how to throw a party. I will give them that. Like, they, at this reception, they have 6 different like table food stations. There's a potato bar, which I was like, oh my God, I'm ready to marry into this family right now.
There's Drew. He's still single.
Yeah,
Drew.
I know. Book 3, Drew and Kelly.
Robin,
here we go.
Stop writing the 3rd one right now.
Oh God. And then there's a biscuit bar. I was like, I've never heard of that, but I'm here for it.
The alliteration,
Biscuit bar, Load up on pulled pork, barbecue sauce on your biscuit. There's a pasta bar. So this family likes carbs.
How are these guys in shape?
Right,
that's
like,
my question.
seriously.
Like, what do you guys do?
They eat so many carbs. Ethan owns a restaurant, so I'm like, you're surrounded by amazing food all day. This is why I could never work in like a bakery or anything.
Like Antony's Village Den or something? Like it's only like healthy food or something like that? God. That's what we want to go to, by the way.
And they're supposed to be in LA. They're supposed to be in like Malibu or like the West Side.
They run in Temescal Canyon at one point.
Yeah.
And, like,
So if you are familiar with, like, Los Angeles area, there's an added, like, fun element to reading these books, because you're like, oh, I feel like they mentioned, like, Nobu at some point.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I found a sentence that I thought was, like, freaking amazing.
Was this the one that you're like, this is the great writing right here? This is the great
sentence. You want to read this?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Right. She smells good enough to break down doors, and I step away to let her lock hers. I don't know why, but it was the break down doors
and then
let
lock
her
hers.
Lock hers.
Yeah.
I was like,
it sounds like
Robin
poetry.
Bielman. It was. I read it and I was like, I'm gonna get that tattooed on my arm. Like,
yes. Let's do it. Let's do our Robin Bielman tattoos. I am all about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just found it right now because we were looking over the thing, and I was like, "Oh, that was a sentence." Because I actually happened to dog-ear that page because that was one of my stopping points anyway.
Gotcha.
And yeah, that was just stopping point before it's like almost halfway through the book, and then I started reading this bit, and I had to finish. All of it.
Well, and these books are so easy to read. Yeah. Like, and that I don't want people to think that that's like a negative thing. Like, the writing you've heard is comedic. It's very smart. It's poetic at times. Yeah. There's definitely super hot moments. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I found the moment where it's Ethan is hotter than a 3-alarm fire in the Mojave Desert. There you go. Chapter 16.
Yeah.
But this is definitely one, too, where I read most of this, like, one afternoon, like, chilling in the backyard. Yeah. Like, super it was great.
I think, it is weird. I think people think sometimes reading needs to be difficult.
No.
No, not everything needs to be Game of Thrones.
I wish I wish they were simpler. Like, honestly, I wish everything was, like, a little bit simpler.
Like, if I want something complicated, like, that's when I'll go read, like, I know he's, it's a little bit of controversy around him right now, but I'll go read, like, Orson Scott Card if I want to read something super complicated, right?
Sure.
Or I'll go read, like, Vonnegut or something. But if, like, I want to, like, a read, then, like, or I'll go read, like, a James Patterson book or something.
Yeah.
Where, like, I'm looking for that kind of super
mind fuck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll reread Ender's Game because my copy isn't falling apart enough. But like,
and you have to be. I feel like more often you have to be in a specific mood to read something like that than as opposed to just picking up a book.
Exactly.
Like, and that's what's beautiful about these books. So, oh god, yeah. And I'm just open to several hot moments in the story. Yeah. So before we get to the excerpts, is there anything? I mean, clearly we enjoyed this book.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you didn't love about Sweet Talker?
I think I quote unquote didn't love more about Heartbreaker than I did about Sweet Talker. I really enjoed like the whole
Heartthrob.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What do I call it? Heartbreaker.
Heartbreaker.
Jesus, that shows you where my hands are. I think that I don't know. I really liked the break from convention in the book from what I expected the convention to be of the romance novel form. I think I was probably just really enamored with them. I really, really liked the way that she described kissing. That was something that, like, because I bring things to past relationship way too quickly, but like that's what I would when I would talk to people about that girl. That's how I would describe the kissing. Not that poetically, but it was that kind of level of like you lose track of like your body. It's more like you're like suddenly not physical anymore, and it's something more than that.
And I think there's a lot more romance attached to describing kissing as opposed to describing sex.
Exactly.
So
like,
I mean,
sex is obviously great.
Oh, absolutely,
but I think that, there's something about the kiss that like long inhale on the first kiss where you're just like, it feels like you can't get enough air even though you're breathing in, and like all of that. The kissing is so much. I think that's what people miss. I think even people that probably get sex regularly from, the guys that are actually good at talking to women at bars. Like I would think that even like them, or vice versa, girls that are good at talking to guys at bars. Like I think that's what you begin to miss, is you miss like a real kiss.
When it gets treated as sort of like a precursor. Yeah, like this is just like, okay, we have to hit this before we get to the next level. Like my eye is on the prize.
Yes.
And like this is just kind of one step in the ladder to get there.
Like
sort of
I miss the like apprehension, but also the eagerness before a kiss. Like I miss the magnetism of being so close to somebody, but yet being so kind of afraid to just go the extra, as Hitch would call it, the extra 10%. And like I think, like I reading that, it was just palpable to me as someone who I would consider myself a romantic, but I'm much more of a inactive romantic as of late. But I think that like That's something that I felt she wrote so well.
Yeah.
I looked forward to those passages. So I didn't have as many things that I was like, I had as much of an issue with.
You loved them.
I really did love this book. I thought it was really great.
I did too.
Bielman, way to go. Way to go.
Another 2 for 2. 2 for 2. We're on board. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I really did like it. I feel like the only thing, and it's not that I disliked it, it's just that I was thrown for it, is you kind of really loved the surprise of like the turn of events and everything. And for me, I did enjoy it, but I was kind of thrown for a second. Like,
I can see that.
This is going different places.
Yeah.
That being said, once we kind of get into the whole story of Pascale becoming a mom and, you know, taking on this child that she already loves and then sort of having to figure out, well, how do I make this work with somebody that I'm just also starting a relationship with again? I mean, it's interesting, and it's such a story that so many people can connect with too.
Yeah.
You know, whether you have children or not, but it was really interesting. I just got upset with her sometimes for thinking Ethan wasn't gonna be a part of their family unit.
Yeah, I was just mad that she was with Ethan and not me, but you know, like whatever you want to do.
There's that too.
Just incart her into existence, which is a super obscure, like young adult book reference, but just write her and then go find someone that can speak her into existence.
Yeah, there you go.
Such a nerdy book reference. I'm so sorry, everyone.
It's okay. We welcome all nerdy book references on this podcast. Okay, it seems like it's safe to say then that you probably enjoyed this book more than Heartthrob.
Yeah, I think... I hesitate to say this because it's going to make me sound like I have a really big opinion of myself. I think I felt more connected with Ethan than I did with Finn. Okay. I feel like Finn was the guy that I probably in high school was like, man, I wish I was that guy. Mm-hmm. In fact, actually, I can think of guys that were not as well-rounded as Finn, but like the guys that were super sporty that like all the girls liked.
Right.
You know, I was very unpopular in high school. In every room except for the drama room. You guys
I was going to say, stop it. You were a star.
You guys were so nice to me. But everywhere else, like my class didn't really... It wasn't until my senior year when like Glee was at the height of its thing that suddenly like everyone cared about the musicals.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it was like Peter Pan was like the time that everyone decided like all the... That was when Emilio was in the show. Shout out Emilio. Go watch The Society.
Yeah, Society Season 2.
Yeah, I know.
Coming soon. We're all about it.
Yeah. But like, you know, I think that like I always felt very... I generally feel kind of apart from people anyways, but I think in high school, like Finn was the dude I wanted to be, and Ethan felt a little bit more in the vein of the guy that like I think I may be on my way to being. Okay. You know, and I think that made me feel more immediately kind of dropped into the story. Anytime you can really, really identify with one of the main characters. I think that's probably why I was more...
And then I'm the other way, was I feel like I identified more with Chloe as opposed to Pascale, but... I mean, again, like they're all very likable. They're all very 100%. Relatable in different ways. Yeah. I love seeing also a family that like gets along with each other and they're really supportive of each other, but they can still joke and rib each other and everything. Yeah. Like I'm an only child, so I never had like that experience. Yeah. So I love seeing families that have that experience. It makes me want to marry into like, God, if I could marry into this family, like I would love that. Yeah. Oh my God, that would be fantastic. Yeah, because then you'd have all these fun people around you. You have these sick-ass parties with good food. Yeah. That grandma is fucking hysterical. Yeah.
I like the idea that like somewhere in LA there are good rich people.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing that like you see so much, and I think because most of the LA parties that everyone that I know goes to are full of people like you can't trust and are just looking to somehow take advantage of you.
Yeah, and get ahead.
Exactly, and it's like I'm sure there are like the nice rich people somewhere that have good parties that are good-natured people. If someone got too drunk, it would be like, why don't we lay her down in the guest room and like close the door, lay him down in the guest room and close the door, and it wouldn't be like, hey man, like I'll get her out of here, and then like, you know, then you hear some terrible story, another terrible story of what happened to someone that got too drunk at an LA party. And I think it's really nice again to go toward like, let's aspire to this. Yeah. You know, I think it's
true.
Really nice.
No, it's refreshing. It's refreshing. It's real. They don't feel like caricatures of rich people. Like, I mean, this is clearly a family. The Auprince family is clearly a family that grew up with money. Yeah. Like, but they each have made their own way. You know, Finn is a professional baseball player. Yeah. Ethan's opened a restaurant. I'm trying to remember what Drew does. I'm not remembering what he does.
She's written it somewhere, but we get so wrapped up in the story.
Yeah, of who we're focusing on and everything. So
I'm sorry, can't remember what Drew does.
Yeah,
not that we've ever talked.
We'll find out.
I keep talking to Robin like we've actually spoken.
Sorry, Robin.
Sorry, Robin.
We'll find out in book 3.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm thinking construction. Like that's what it is, but I could be seriously off.
He's an architect?
I don't know. I read so many fucking books. They all blend together after a while, but not this.
No.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll see. Hopefully we'll get Drew's book soon, because I'm with you. I want to know who he settles on, you know, and who, you know, he's such a serial monogamous that it's like, okay, who's going to be the one?
Well, like the build is pretty, not to, you know, add pressure, but like the build is pretty good now. Like you had like the first one was great. I thought the second one was like just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
So the third one's gonna be the finale. Like I wonder if
so our expectations are high, is what we're saying.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. So okay, now there is plenty. I mean, if you're thinking that this is just like a really well-written book and like closed bedroom door romance, you would be wrong, because these are great characters, but they also have some hot, steamy moments.
There were definitely times where I was like, I'm really glad I'm not reading this in public.
Yeah. In fact, there's one scene, and it's the one that I marked. I just like, I like when people are very vocal during sex. Like, I like seeing people saying, this is what I want. How can I give it to you? I'm like, oh God, nothing hotter. And there's a moment, I think this is it might even be their last sex scene, but it's much later on.
Yeah.
And she says, is this what you've had on your mind all day? Not exactly. He sits on the bed, then uses his sinewy arms to scoot himself back to the middle. Come here. I think you forgot to take something off, I say, sauntering toward him. Later. Right now, I need you to sit on my face so I can taste you until my tongue has had its fill. He falls back so he's lying flat atop the comforter. How long is that usually? I crawl onto the bed. Let's find out. And then they do.
Yeah. Oh! Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah.
Yes. Love it.
Yes. That's what you want, right? You want something that you are that you both like love, respect, but like lust for so strongly. You're just like not even thinking about the words that are coming out of your mouth. You're just like,
yeah,
come on.
Yeah.
You know?
Climb my face. Let's do it.
Please, God. Yes.
Yeah, there's like some shower sex too.
Yes.
Like there's a little bit of everything. Do you have a specific moment?
I think so. Mine's super boring though, but it's
That's
just
okay.
like kissing. But yeah, okay. I'm not gonna read it like Batman.
Okay. Just one line. Just give me one Batman line.
One kiss. Okay. One kiss. I'm not gonna blow my second chance with her. I plan to take this slow, young and carefree. We jumped into bed the first day we met. Older now and hopefully wiser, I can't risk my heart again if she plans to walk away when her assignment is done. Her lips barely brush mine. One light touch with her olive green eyes locked on mine, and my body is hers to do with whatever she wants. Stay in control, dude. Like, that to me is like I've been in that situation where you're just like, don't lose your shit. Just be cool. Just be cool. Just be calm. Be collected.
Oh God, yeah. No, and it really is. I feel like even though these books focus on the brothers, this one's interesting in that, you know, it really, Ethan's story, his like goal for the whole story is so much quieter than like everything that Pascale is going through.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, when it all boils down to it, he really is like, I need to convince this woman to stay in my life. Yeah. Like, and that is huge. Yeah. You know, so it those moments.
Like, I like, because I think, you know, it happens so fast that he like realizes what, you know, like, because Ethan knows from pretty much like, I would say in the first like 20 pages, he knows what's going on. Yeah. And I liked the because again, I think to identify with the character, like, I would probably do that. If I found out some girl was like, had some secret, like, I wouldn't even care. I wouldn't even be like mad probably. I'd be like, oh, okay, but I'm like, I'm just gonna like sit back and like let's just see how this plays out. And, like, eventually I'll just be like, oh yeah, no, I know. And he starts using it to his advantage, you know, but not in like a skeezy way. No, like, this like could have gone so many different ways where it's like they have a fight because he finds out that she's his bodyguard. No, like you said, he figures that out really quickly, and he's kind of like, great, how can I use this to like
get her to stay close to me and get to know me again. Like, it's all so well-intentioned that you're just like, oh, precious.
Yeah.
Love you.
Yeah. And even down to, like, I think I really liked because, you know, I think hopefully not very many people have to do the whole trying to prove to the person you love that you love them and that you want to be with them. And, you know, I think we're all used to seeing the big grand romantic gesture where you storm into the apartment and you go, I'm not leaving. I'm going to stay here until you hear what I have to say. And then there's
a marching band that comes in, you know, too.
You know, like, we'd all love to be that, both well-funded and well-coordinated. But I think a lot of times what happens is things just, like, end unexpectedly. There are not a lot of people come and monologue and tell you why they're not going to be with you. Or I think the text is probably a lot more... And even though... and I like that, like, she felt bad about it being that way, but it's also, like, what do I say? Like, if I go to him, it's going to be... Like, I'll never be able to leave.
Yeah, I won't be able to leave because I love him. He loves me. He, you know, will pull me into his arms. Like, he'll talk me out of it.
But I just don't want him to give up on his ambitions. Yeah. And it's like, I think him being able to come and be like, you're my path, you're my ambition. It's the two of you, and this is worth. But also having the patience of postcarding.
Oh, God. I mean, the fact that she takes the daughter off to Hawaii and he wants nothing more than to go after them, which, like you said, in any other story, that would be the grand romantic gesture. He jumps on the plane, he goes to find her, and he doesn't. And you're like, this is different.
He just sends postcards, which I was like, what a baller move.
God, I was like, that's even hotter. Yeah. Like, now you're going to have, like, this, like, real but also like delayed sense of gratification and everything. Like, oh,
one of my favorite rom-com endings, my favorite rom-com of all time is Crazy Stupid Love, but
one of my faves.
But like one of my favorite rom-com endings is the end of The Proposal, when like he goes after her and like walks into the office and he's like panting and she's like, why are you panting? He's like, well, because I've been running. I'm running here because you left me. Like, that whole thing of like
very confrontational.
Very confrontational. Like, but it's almost like heightened reality. Like, if there's no real world version of that where people in the office aren't like, is he accosting her? Like, and you know, like, and she's not like, don't yell at me.
Do we need to call security?
Yeah. It's a step outside of reality where like Ryan Reynolds can be Ryan Reynolds, the Ryan Reynolds that if people like him they love, and if people don't like him they don't like. Because he's a very divisive actor.
Hold on. Who doesn't love Ryan Reynolds?
I know people that don't like him, and I'm like, why? Like, I think he's hysterical. Every time the reason I watch Detective Pikachu is just because I want to watch him say nonsense.
He is a treasure to movies, to our lives, and he has this gorgeous wife, and their babies are going to be ridiculously beautiful.
He, loves so much.
So precious. Like, him as a dad, too, is just like... So
I feel like
hot.
Watching like Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel and watching Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, like they're so in love with each other.
So precious
that it's like it's one of those things where you're just like you're like, fuck, why can't
I know. Fuck, what are we gonna do?
But I think that anytime I get to, I mean, the reason I watch Deadpool over and over again is just because I want to watch him just say random nonsense.
Right.
So I think he gets away with it really well because he doesn't. That aggression is almost like self-inflicting. It's almost like he doesn't really go past himself. He's not. You can tell in that scene he's not mad at her.
No.
But any other, like, even if they gave me that script and they said go do it, people would be like, you are way too mad at her because I can't do. That's a Ryan Reynolds thing. He's able to kind of like subsist on his own energy, and I think that this was a much more like respectful, beautiful, romantic way of being like, I still love you, and I'm gonna write you like the equivalency of a haiku, and then like that's it. You get a true postcard. It's not.
It's so old-fashioned too. Like it's so old romance and everything. Like sending letters.
That's true. Yeah.
It's so. So what you're saying is you want to see Ryan Reynolds play Ethan in the movie?
Yeah, I mean that'd be fun. That'd be cool. It'd be actually a really different role for him anyway.
Yeah.
Because he's usually so kind of like larger than life. I feel like Ethan's sort of a Ryan Gosling.
Okay. Almost. Well, he definitely looks like him, like circa Crazy Stupid Love on the cover model here.
I feel like I dressed like Ryan Gosling in Crazy Stupid Love for like 4 years. Like I saw that movie.
He was cool.
And I was like, from the minute he walked on screen, I was like, okay, so suits are the thing.
Yeah,
Like, wear
gotta
a
have the
suit
super
every day.
tailored blazer
Yes.
and
Yeah.
everything.
I didn't have any money, so they did not well, number one, I didn't have the body or the money, which are two things you need to have those suits.
You gotta be Auprince rich to
I know.
make that shit
I
happen.
know. Although Indochino, they got some good prices. So who knows?
So Heartthrob was our Down with Love episode, and I'm hearing Sweet Talker is our Deadpool meets The Proposal meets Crazy Stupid Love episode.
I just watched it the other night, so that's probably why it's in my head.
I'm okay with that. These are all wonderful choices. We're gonna have to start publishing film watch lists and music lists to go with our book recs.
Yeah.
Okay, so last things, let's give this book a few grades. You know how this works.
Yes.
So out of 10, 10 being the very best that it could possibly be, we're going to grade for story, syntax, and sexcapades. So let's start with story. What do you think out of 10?
I'm going to give this one a 10 because I liked so much.
Wow.
It was just so unexpected. I think that's the thing. It really caught me off guard. And I get what I do see what you're saying about sometimes it was oh, shit, okay, that happened.
I gave story an 8.
Okay.
Which is actually the same grade that I gave Heartthrob.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this one was just as good, like you said, if not better than Heartthrob. So I think we're on the same page. You just loved the whole turn of events, breaking the mold.
I think
sort of thing.
I get what you're saying about it being. I get what you're saying about it being sort of almost seeming wait, what?
Yeah.
But I think for some reason I was so into that I kind of dismissed. I bet you if I read it again, I probably would be a little bit more particular about it.
Yeah, maybe. Well, and you know what? One of the reasons I love romance is the fact that it is so predictable. Yeah. Is kind of coming into it and being I know how this is going to go, and everything. And so I think kind of bought into it being this is going to be this bodyguard, second chance romance between the two of them. And then when we wrapped up the bodyguard thing so quickly, I was oh, where are we going now? Yeah. And then we brought in a child. I'm oh my gosh, so much drama. But that being said, I really liked where it went. So, how about syntax, Miss Bielman's writing?
Yeah, I'll probably give that a 10 as well.
I did too.
I liked that I actually thought that not that I thought her writing was bad in Heartthrob at all, but I thought the writing was a little bit better in this one.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I just found a lot, but I felt that, especially with that one sentence, but I feel there were a couple other sentences as well that were very poetic, where I was I like poetry.
Even just the writing was romantic. Yeah. It's a romantic story, but it was just very romantic writing and but also fun. I mean, it was all the things about romance that it should be. It was fun, and then it was gritty at times, and there were moments that were super dramatic. It was a good balance for sure. Yeah. How about the sexcapades?
I'm probably gonna be boring and give that a 10 as well.
So basically, what you're saying is this is your favorite book.
Yeah, I really liked this one. As far as romance goes, I got really invested really fast, and I think part of me there's the part of me that fantasizes that this could happen to me one day, even though I know objectively it won't. But I think
Stop.
No, but I mean specifically in the situation of a past relationship coming
second
back
chance.
And getting a chance again. It's not my real life is not this.
Okay.
But I think there is that fantasy always of when you feel you really had a deep connection with someone, them coming back and you both being in a better place and
for sure
move forward. So I think for me there's an element of it that was so much that hit me so deep, struck a chord so deep in me that was man, I've dreamt about this.
Yeah.
Now I get to read about it, and so
So you like the second chance romance? I feel because Finn and Chloe, that was a first meet. They had this super meet cute, you know. With isn't it they collide cars at the beginning? Yeah.
I think also for me, I don't get very I don't get angry very often, and I also don't get very I like other people's opinions, and I don't get very particular about my way of seeing things, or things I'm unmovable on, human rights and stuff. But other than that, if I meet most people and I get along with them, I get along with them. It's rare for me to not like somebody and then grow into this for it to blossom into this amazing relationship or friendship. I generally will meet someone and be even if we're a little shaky at first, it usually tends to go somewhere or it doesn't, and I'm very kind of open to that. So I think with the Finn and Chloe thing, I was I've never had that I dislike them so much and then turn into love before.
Yeah.
Whereas I for sure had the I think about that girl all the time, and oh my god,
Yeah.
here she is. And
Well, and Finn and Chloe, I mean, they weren't even, like, there was, like, for sure, like, a first meet. I wouldn't even call them, like, another trope of romance is enemies to lovers.
Yeah.
And I don't even think theirs was, like, that severe either.
Wasn't.
But,
It
like,
wasn't.
so I'm like, okay, now I have a sense of kind of, like, what you would like in other romance then. You would like the second chance or sort of, like, a lived-in romance where they've been together, something didn't go right, you know, second chance, and then maybe not so much enemies to lovers. So
I never feel like the girl's first choice, I guess. You know, like I don't ever feel like the guy that's like coveted by a lot of women or anything. It's not like I've never been the dude that all the girls are like, you know, like I said, to take it back to high school because that's the most used situation. I've never been the guy that all the girls were like, man, if we could all only just get Nathan Brown. You know, like I was always like, what, Nathan? For me, I'm used to having to like work, and I don't have any problem working to you know, get someone to see that why I would be worth their time.
Yeah.
Versus it being kind of like an immediate
thing. I gave Sexcapades a 9. And you know what? I gave Heartthrob an 8, but I think this one was like a little hotter. Like it took a while for them to get to that moment.
I was like, just bang.
Yeah,
Come
but then
on,
once
guys.
they do, I'm like, it's in the shower. She's on his face. Like, all over.
Yes.
Love it. So, yeah, clearly, like I said, I mean, we knew this coming into this book that we loved Heartthrob so much. We loved Sweet Talker just as much, if not more. And next up is Drew's story. And do we have a title on that one? Let me double check. Hot Shot. Hot Shot will be Drew's story. And I don't think we have a release date just yet. I would assume if she got it out by the end of the year, I'd be really impressed. Yeah. But because I want to say the first one was like
between us recording.
I want to say it was like May, like April or May was.
It was raining for the secret episode, right?
Yeah,
the last one. It was raining that day, right?
Yeah. So I think it was springtime for the first book, and now we're in like sort of the beginning of fall. So I'm thinking either end of this year or like beginning of next year. Yeah. Although I mean, Rob and Bielman, we're not trying to like pressure you into releasing. Hot Shot sooner. I need you to rewrite it to include me in Drew's romance.
Watch his girl's name be Kelly.
Oh my God, I would die. So here's hoping, fingers crossed. But once again, thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm sorry that we got long-winded.
Oh no. I think people enjoy listening to you talk. I know I do, so it's fine.
That's very nice.
Yeah. So until Hot Shot, when we'll have you back again.
Yeah. Cool.